Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Bala Brands podcast. Happy to be here again with everybody. Whether you're a new listener, return your listener, watching this on YouTube, or listening to this on Apple, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, thank you guys so much from wherever you are in the world, whatever you might be up to. Appreciate you guys. How you discovered me is always an interesting thing I want to always ask. And thank you again for being here. Now, I recently listened to an episode myself, a podcast episode, and it was around the subject of how much debt we have. It's grown astronomically in the past year. And it was a really fascinating story because I think it's a story that a lot of people could relate to. When things get hard, people oftentimes, number one, they turn the credit card into a debit card because maybe the idea that it's not the idea, but it's like the reality that your wage hasn't gone up and you need to spend money on basic things, and we start borrowing in order to just provide for basic living stuff. But there's also elements in the story that talk about avoidance, talk about looking for validation, looking for hope, looking for acceptance, hoping that the next morning, the next day, everything's going to change. Now, when it comes to debt, there's a lot about it where I will say you have to understand the secret language of it, the secret language of credit cards. But a lot of that story also revolved around so many external kind of factors in a sense. We always get the surface level things, but at the core of it, it's driven by emotional spending, driven by certain different needs that we have. And it's crazy because it's how I was listening to it and I'm thinking, how do you get to a point where you get yourself into such a hole, and that hole creates even more turbulence in your life, not just financially but emotionally and your mental health. And people go through this all the time. But credit card companies are notoriously good at throwing out rewards, points, cash back, available credit, buy now, pay later, all these incentive ways to pull you into their world and keep you hooked. But not only that, but if you've ever think about it, if you've ever experienced a moment where, depending on how you were feeling in a particular moment of a day or week, and say you got a letter from a credit card company and they were offering you rewards or incentives to buy in 6 months of interest, 12 months of interest. Oftentimes people tend to say, because if they're in a good mood or sad mood, they will grab that opportunity and go for it. But then you realize over time, with hold it, how many credit cards do you have? How do you manage that? Are you keeping track of that? Do you know what the interest rate is on these cards, even if it's delayed for months before you have to pay that? And it also just comes down to a very simple element is when money becomes emotional, money stops being a tool, money becomes more of an emotional relief. And credit cards become a solution instead of a tool. So people start borrowing from the future just to feel better today. And again, we get stuck in these loops. And so as I'm listening to the story, I'm thinking, my God, this person went through this first element of it. Things start happening financially in her life. Things are not great. Her relationship just started going through it. She was in a marriage. The marriage is over, and all of a sudden she finds herself in a continuous loop of, now the responsibility is mine. I got these credit cards, and you start trying to fill the voids and start getting into things, and before you know it, your spending is out of control. So then your mental health takes a plummet. And I'm like, I can't believe people go through this, and it's nobody's fault. That's the thing too. It's not to say it's someone should feel shame or guilt or embarrassment, but it's because we don't take care of the core inner part of us, where we let the emotions carry the spending, and we let that dictate everything, and that affects financially our health and our life, and that just derails everything. And so I'm not here to tell you, okay, this is how credit cards work. The reason I wanted to share this story is because there's always a deeper hidden reason behind it. There's always more to it than just, oh, the economy, interest rates, inflation, I'm not making enough money. There's always those elements to it. But what about the thing you can't control? Before it's too late. And one of the key things that this person mentioned is that things got so bad that she started avoiding entirely, not wanting to address the problem and letting it get really bad. And I think that's a really unfortunate place to be. But sometimes it's a place we end up because that old pattern is just driving that. A new pattern has yet to be created and developed in order to stop that so you can take more control of the situation at hand. And again, all these things are loops. Every single element to it was a loop. And the credit card was just that thing in front of her that just created this whole mess in her life until she realized, I can't live like this. Something must change. And then when you get to that point, is when you start making a plan. There's a way out of it. Now, unfortunately, most times we all get to that point when we begin to want to make a change, versus getting there beforehand and start realizing, hey, this can't go this way. I see where it's going, and I don't want to do that. But yes, credit card debt is a big burden everyone faces. So you really have to understand credit card language, know what your interest rate is, understanding when it says on your bank account available balance, or they're in a way psychologically getting you to spend more and more. Why do you need more credit cards? How many do you have? What is the interest rate? What do you spend each one based on what the needs are in your life? Only having them for emergencies only. And if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it. But understanding, again, the language of credit cards, understanding debt, because debt really also is just that giant, icky burden rock thing that you can't shake off. And it's like, becomes part of your everyday life that just drags on you, that creates its own emotional and mental weight on you. And it's never too late to educate yourself on these things. If you're not there yet, I'm happy for you. Learn it now. Understand how it runs in your life. In fact, stay away from credit cards, because this lady said she hates them now, but she understands now and is aware of how it works, how the companies work, how we are constantly being sold these pieces of plastic that, yes, people use them, but using them in the proper way without letting it affect your life completely. So if you're not there yet and you're going through what this person went through, know that if she can find a way out, so can you. And sometimes it just takes getting to that point where you say, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. I need a plan. I need to get out of this. You change your lifestyle. You start to understand why you spent what you spent. You look at things in your before this happened and what brought you to that situation, to this present moment. And if you need even more help, that's why you reach out to people. You find those who've been there who can help you, who can guide you. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Asking for help before things get really bad, because then it does feel hopeless. But there's always hope. This lady taught us that. This is what she said at the end. There's a way to take back your life, get back into control of things, and find a way out of it. And it does take a little sacrifice. It does require a new approach to it and just shedding that weight that doesn't belong in your life. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Hope this was of some value to you. And as always, subscribe to my channel, click the leave a review. Y'all know I'm back here every week giving you some more goods. So for now, Bala out. Take care, guys. Have a good rest of your week.